Call the Wednesday, April 29th, 2026 Millwood Planning Commission meeting to order. First order of business is roll call. Commissioner Carina.
Here.
Commissioner Beasy.
Here.
Commissioner Molitor.
Here.
Commissioner Rickard. Here. And Commissioner Anthony is here. Second order of business is approval of the meeting agenda. Let's make sure we're looking at the April 29th one. I know in our package we've got several different ones from review, but it looks like we've got a full agenda for the evening, so anybody's at, I'll entertain a motion to approve the agenda.
I'll make the motion to approve the agenda.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Okay. Any discussion? Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Say nay. Okay, moving on forward. Okay, so we are next up to the approval of meeting minutes. We are approving, and the reason I'm pointing this out is because I was a little confused myself. We are approving the meeting minutes from Tuesday, March 31st. So the last month's meeting that we had moved. So I looked them over. I thought everything looked pretty good. The only thing that I noticed, you know, and we get a little nitpicky, but I'm sure that Commissioner Beasy also voted yay on the adjournment.
I promise I did.
I know she did, so, does anybody else have anything that they saw?
Well, getting even more picky, page 2, under the third paragraph of B,
Where it says Ms.
it starts out periodic update review 17.06, but then it comes down, Commissioner Molitor requested clarification. At the end of that paragraph, I think there should be a D. That was one of the uses wanted to be encouraged. And there was another,
Okay, did we catch that? Could you state that again, Bobby?
okay, under B,
Right.
paragraph, Commissioner Molitor requested, at the end of that, there should be a D on encourage.
I don't even see encouraged.
Okay. Everybody,
See it
So
there?
B, periodic update, chapter 17.06,
Yeah,
right? Ms. Tanio outlined, yada yada, Commissioner Molitor requested clarification.
then Ms. Tanyo
Oh, okay,
explained, and then Commissioner Molitor again requested clarification.
encouraged, right there.
Oh,
And then if you go 2 paragraphs beyond that, there is, Commissioner Beasy expressed concerns about the feasibility of this concept within, no G on the end.
thank you.
good catch, Bobby.
Always.
And you got the first one, he said.
Yes, I got both of those.
Anybody else? Okay. And make note that I believe Commissioner Carina, you are abstaining from voting on this.
Yes, I'm
since you weren't-
abstaining since I was
perfect,
not
so make a
present
note of that.
on the commission at that time.
Okay, so I'll entertain a motion to approve the meeting minutes from March 31st as edited.
Okay.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, Bobby seconds. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say nay. And 1 abstention. So perfect, cool. All right, so now we're gonna move to our action items. I'm going to turn it over to Amanda.
All right, so first one is the review requested modifications, so that's the review tracker. And 422 starts on page 9. The only thing that was added after, and Commissioner Carina noticed, there was actually a typo in the state's language for cottage housing. It had quality and it should have been qualified, and so we got that corrected.
Good, yep.
Other than that, I made one other little change on Appendix A definitions, page 11. Because as I went through Title 16, I noticed it had definitions. I knew 15 did, I knew 18 did. So I went back through and made sure. and said the most recent definition contained in Title 14, 15, 16, 18, or Washington state law shall prevail. So, that way, if we have any issue.
Are we attempting to make our definitions consistent between titles?
Yep. I just compared 16 to Appendix A today, and there was only two that were, the same, like, what was one of them? Planning Commission, I'll just say that. And I made sure they were similar enough that they said the same thing. One was a little shorter, the other was a little longer, but they were consistent.
So we're not saying for the purposes of Title 17, it means this, for the purposes of 15, it means this.
For,
Different thing.
15 and 16, it does say for the purposes. 17 is kind of the all-encompassing. And so that's why I don't want to be inconsistent, but if there is a problem that comes up, then the most recent definition or state law would prevail.
Okay, I just am concerned if we have a more limited definition in 15, but
Mhm.
it happens to be a little newer than 17.
Yeah,
You know, do we really want to replace 17 or, you know, I don't
Yeah.
know.
we shouldn't hopefully run into that. I just had to choose some method to do it.
Yeah, I mean, probably next 50 years,
Okay.
it'll never come up. Who knows?
And I see we got livestock and bicycles.
Oh yeah, we got all those incorporated. Were there any questions on the review tracker?
Well, okay, since we're at the definitions, livestock means it does not include pigs or swine. What about fowls? Does it include?
No, fouls was separate.
Okay, so
Yeah.
should we say livestock does not include pigs, swine, or fowls?
I can.
mean,
I just
if
took it
we're-
straight over from UR1.
Right, but that was a little different use of it. That was not an actual
Okay.
that was a definition of units, not of the
Okay.
word livestock.
So then you would do fowl and rabbits.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, but they're not livestock.
Yeah,
they're-
so do you want me to
different.
include fowl on it?
And rabbits, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, does not include.
Okay.
What page are you on?
Page 11
Page 11
I'm sorry, thank you.
of that tracker thing.
Okay.
of
And
the
then
review, of the
I-
review tracker.
Oh,
Yes.
The review tracker on the bottom of the page.
Okay, got it.
Then I had some things in there that, page 9. I'm a little bit confused about the C2 number of stories.
Page 9.
Yeah, on the table 17.3.
Okay. Yeah, where you asked me to add the footage?
Yes,
Yeah.
which is great, but we've got,
Why it jumps from 30 to 35 and then a big jump to 48?
no,
Okay.
no, I just figured that was some, you know. okay,
It was to
that's what
match
it is.
according to the residential, yeah.
But under C2, for a budding residential zone, 4-story height, we have 15 feet setback. And we said, yes, we've got we allow 4 stories in some cases in C2. But then we come down to height, and we don't have any height for C2,
Oh,
4 stories.
You asked about this the last time. It's because you can't see it on here. Do I have it in the next? No, it's the I. In the explanation at the bottom, it says you can go up, that's the number 6 right there. It says when it's a commercial residential mixed use, it can go up to 4.
So where do we have 6?
I cut it off because this is just the review tracker.
It's up to 3 stories.
And then the 6 reference is in that box that's at the bottom of the so from the previous.
So we just got the top part of the table.
Yeah, because that was the only change that was made.
Okay,
Because it's just the review tracker. If you refer to your 331 packet, page. Residential. Residential. 331 packet, page 47. You can see the original version of that box right there.
okay.
Yeah,
I'll
and
take
it
your word
continues
for it.
on to 48. And 6 is where at least 25% of the structure is residential, the maximum building height can include 4 stories, but be no higher than 48 feet.
Okay,
Sorry, I only put the changes on here, so I didn't include the whole table.
so then on page 10, building setbacks, flanking street, it might be useful to have number of feet added there too. So this is the I-2, this is the,
Oh, above 2 stories.
yeah,
Oh, even though we have it, you want the 30-foot reference right there?
yeah, cause
Okay.
like I say, storage don't mean a whole lot. If you're talking industrial, paper mill,
Okay.
what's the story? Where the catwalk is,
Yeah.
or is it not a real floor? I mean, they can make a 80-foot building and be 1 story.
Okay. I got it.
Anything else? Okay. Commissioner Carina, did you see anything?
I did not.
Jay?
No, the only thing I was gonna add is, should we have something in there about the new commissioner, Karina, her first meeting, and I know,
Under the minutes, you mean?
well, yeah, in the planning commission regular, oh no, I'm sorry. Scratch that, I'm gonna get to that with our agenda, sorry.
No, right now, we're talking about
Yes.
periodic review requested modifications from
Right,
last week.
sorry.
Okay. Commissioner Rickard? Nope, I
Okay.
don't have anything.
All right.
So, do we need to vote on that?
Nope, I just carry it forward
Okay,
each time.
perfect, okay. So now we are going to review chapter 17.38, the general
Yep.
provisions.
And, let's get to that. It is on packet.
Yeah, so where are we?
I'm getting there, yeah. Public
So was
reserves.
this anything that came out this time, or this is carryover from
This
last
is
time?
carryover 331, packet page 71 is where it starts.
This top, the 331.
The 331, yep. Just think, we're not killing a ton of trees this time.
So packet page which?
71.
Thank you very much.
And I basically went through and just did a lot of clarification things. I updated,
So can we
Fen-
clarify that we're on the same page 71?
71 should say 1738 general provisions.
Perfect.
Okay.
Let's make sure we all get there. Everybody there? Okay.
Okay. So clarification things like under D2, I included ramps. That's actually come up. So that was something I added.
Mm-hmm.
And then, page 72, the city council actually had proposed some changes, to the fence permit ordinance. And I told them, stop, halt. I said, I gotta take that through. And so what I've done is just pulled what they had and put it in under fences, here. Everything stays 42 inches in height. It just reorganized, and you can see, cause it's crossed out up top. It reorganized things and did a few clarifications, but substantially, nothing changed. It's just reorganized a little.
Okay, so, hang
oh,
on,
yes.
that brings up a question. Okay, I thought that the 42 inches in height was only
front side.
8 feet from the property line.
No, it's whatever the setback is. So front and
Okay,
front
the
side,
reason
the distance of the
Because I just went
required
through
front
this
yard
when I built my
setback.
fence 3 or 4 years ago.
Yeah, it's kind of changed,
Has it changed?
I think it changed in 2022.
and it didn't quite match what Christina was telling it was.
Yeah.
When you actually went to the code, it didn't match what she was saying it was. So it is kind of confusing, but if this has not changed,
Okay,
And this is how I enforce it. In fact, we had a challenge on it, and city council affirmed my appeal, or They denied the appeal. And so, yeah, the front and front side, the distance of the required front yard setbacks. So example, you have a house, fronting a street. The house sits back 25 feet. Between the street and the front of that house, if they're on a corner lot, that's all front side.
Okay,
So that would all be the 42 inch.
okay.
So, the interpretation by the planner has changed.
I think I'm interpreting it the way you guys wrote it.
It's the way it's.
Okay. Okay. And yeah, substantially nothing else changed on that. And then let's see, this is now F is sidewalks, trails, shared roadways, and complete streets. So we didn't have officially a complete streets ordinance. This clarifies that now we have it included, and you can get additional funding and stuff when you have complete streets ordinances. And so that's just been updated. It talks about sidewalks in there. And remember, a lot of this, we had to make sure that we have an active transportation component included in our regulations because we had to in our comp plan. So now I have to pull it in and make sure we're consistent.
Now, our define streets as access streets and arterials and all of these
Yeah,
things.
we have all that.
Yes, but that's defined in the comprehensive plan.
Yes.
Where's that defined?
And the comprehensive plan goes over what each one is, what the widths are, and then that carried over into, I just saw it in my Title 16 I worked on.
In Millwood specifically, which street is classified as what?
That's in the comp plan,
Yeah, okay.
Yep. thoroughly, and double checked.
Where to go look for it if I wanted
Yeah.
to look for it.
And it also, remember in the comp plan, we have what the existing is, and then what the city engineer was going to potentially propose for the future, we even had that.
Yes, yeah.
And then Clearview Triangle, to say the least, was kind of a mess before. So I went through and clarified that, so it's much more usable. And added a graphic with a 42-inch fence on the corner. That was actually really hard to find. And then administrative exceptions have been updated just a little bit. And we already covered this last meeting. Number 5, we reduced back down to 10% after Commissioner Beasy and I talked. So we went through that. And then,
Okay, so I have a question real quick.
yes,
Okay, so in looking at what we talked about, the front and front side yard,
yes,
42 inches,
yes.
when you look at your diagram that you're talking about here,
Look at the
Okay.
label.
I see a 42-inch fence for the Clearview Triangle, but then it jumps up.
Because look at the label.
Because it's,
The front setback's closer on that lot.
I know, but isn't that a front side with is that a street or a driveway in there?
It's
gotta
a
be
street.
Okay.
Yep. And remember, the front and the front side are to the back of the front setback.
Okay,
so
So-
where it jumps up to the 42 inches, is that right?
No, it's
Your-
42 inches, and then they actually, in this diagram, continued the 42, and then it jumped up, but it's all behind the front setback line. This just happens to be a much closer front setback line. I couldn't get it perfect, but.
okay,
And,
And that's why I put site specific.
yeah, no problem, okay.
if somebody's fence is right up there at 42 inches, if it's a side obscuring fence, you can't do that because it's,
So I have to. go back
because
to
I think the
fence.
Clearview Triangle is up to 3 feet,
Fences, front and front
3
side.
feet 6 inches maximum, 3 feet 5 inches maximum.
5 inches, yeah.
So it doesn't say it in there, I must say it in the.
Okay, 3 feet 5 inches is 36 plus
That's 42
5,
inches, 42
That's
inches.
41 inches.
Right, so 42
36 plus 6,
is 42.
yeah,
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 3.5 feet.
3.5 feet, yeah.
Your drawing has 3 feet 5 inches.
No, that's
3.55
3.55, that's 3.5 feet.
Oh,
Yeah,
that's a pretty fat foot.
yeah.
New readers,
Evidently.
Yeah, I was like, what did I do?
Actually, I do need that.
yeah. I had to look at that myself.
And I did get as big as I could without losing the corners. I cropped this thing down and.
Okay, okay, all is well.
Okay.
Okay.
And then, just changing, had a lot of things that said zoning district and yada, it's a zone. We have the land use or the Millwood Historic District, and then you have zone, so I just clarified those throughout. I added the new alternative methods of compliance, section, and I don't see this, I don't think I'm gonna have to use it very often here, but it is nice to have. I used it quite a bit in Liberty Lake, and the best example I have was, in Liberty Lake, we did a lot of things like the Albertsons and stuff. And I was so glad I had this because we were very prescriptive on the landscape standards. Well, I didn't wanna run the applicant through a full variance process in order to change a tree, for example, in a parking lot. This allows me to do it as long as it's consistent with the comp plan. So little things like that. And then I always, like once a year or whatever it was, I briefed the planning commission on any of the alternative methods of compliance that I used.
I think that is important if we are going to learn and adjust code as time goes on to see what issues have come up and.
Yep, absolutely.
And then a whole lot of cross out because we had a completely duplicated section. Level of service, that was a section we didn't have in the development regulations before. I added it in and cross-referenced back to the comp plan where it's all established.
Where is that?
What page?
On 77.
Top of the page, page 77.
Oh, okay.
And it's also referenced, I have it in level of service and concurrency, both referenced in the Title 16 subdivisions, but we'll come to that next time. And then, just clarification. Page 78 was state language I had to add for the RCW. What is the next one? Oh yeah, that's non-conforming. So I went through and cleaned up non-conforming a little bit because we had uses, structures, everything all kind of interjumbled and it did not work well. So I went through and cleaned it up and I confirmed and double checked some of my interpretations that I've been doing with Brian. And he concurred because we actually, an example, and I talked about this with Commissioner Vesey. We had a property owner or two possibly even along Trent reach out to me. And as you know, along Trent there, it is an asphalt jungle. There is no landscaping, there is no swales, there is no nothing. And so the way this is written is reflected how I've been telling people. If they make a modification to the parking lot, so if they are ripping the parking lot up to put in new utility extensions or something like that, we need to reduce the nonconformity. So let's work together, let's get some landscaping in, or swales preferably, maybe even landscaping around the edge, and reduce the nonconformity of that site. It doesn't rip the Band-Aid off and kill a business owner because they have to do $100,000 worth of improvements. That's a bad thing. It takes little baby steps to help bring the site into closer compliance with the code.
One of the problems we keep running into there is that the state came through and took a bunch of land.
Yeah.
So what looks like the end of their property doesn't belong to them, it belongs to the state.
Yeah, we've ran into that on signs and stuff.
That's
It was
a big
shocker
sign
for
issue,
'em.
yeah.
Yeah. So, that's what that rewrite is on the non-conforming. And then I also, to be consistent with the comprehensive plan, we added in a new, can't read my first word there, green infrastructure and low impact development reference on things that we can do in the CBD, as we talked about in the comp plan, to help with that, so. Oh, yes, yes,
Pages, that way we have consistency. 'Cause
okay.
it looks like we might have confusion.
Do we have confusion? Okay,
I guess we're supposed to bring our other packets and
331, rather than killing trees this time, we've kept the 331 packet going until we get through all these sections, and that's why I created the review tracker.
I'll try and keep along with what page she's on for
Yeah.
you guys.
And so that is the end of general provisions.
Any question, comments? Hearing none, let's move on.
Okay, can we pull this one? Are we good with this one? Pull it from the group?
Yeah, not the appendix, but up
No,
until there.
general provisions. Okay, so we're done. Alrighty.
Like it, we're making some progress.
Yes, okay, appendix A definitions, so yeah, go ahead and pull up appendix A. And there's so many definitions that had to be added. There were definitions that were clarified or corrected, in here, and so I am just gonna ask if you guys have questions, and we will go over them.
One question I have is I heard at one time that the state of Washington was trying to change the vocabulary from marijuana to cannabis.
Oh,
Did that go anywhere? If it
I still
did,
know
should
it
we
as,
be-
as marijuana.
Well, because marijuana is potentially racist, supposedly, in
Oh.
its history.
Okay, I will tell you, it is not on the periodic update checklist, so I think we're good.
Okay, I was just gonna say.
It's probably one of the few
that-
things that's not on it.
That they were trying to change it and
Yeah.
it may be that it was a bill that never got passed, I don't know. But I
Yeah,
read
cause if
somewhere
it was required to be changed, it would have been on the checklist.
Yeah, you definitely see cannabis being used more than just marijuana.
It's, I think, the scientific, official name for it and probably
Right.
should be used and, I suppose we could add it in parentheses or something after marijuana in each of our definitions if we wanted or something.
It's up to you guys. Don't worry about it, okay. All right. Next questions.
I have a question on page 91 of Appendix A.
91.
Yes.
Yes.
And it is crossed out and is just above the new multifamily housing definition, so,
New, above and below, yep.
yes, so those two together, so, the new definition means a building with 6 or more attached dwelling units. Typically, you think of multifamily, it's 2 units, such as a duplex can be considered multifamily.
Not
so-
under the new middle housing standards.
Okay.
So, let me do our quick 101. Under the new middle housing standards, we had to describe every single middle housing use in the table of permitted uses and reference it in the comp plan. So we now have single family, separate. You have duplex, you have triplex, you have fourplex, you have fiveplex. Then you have multifamily that's 6 or more, and it could have been 5 or more. Some places say multifamily is 5 or more, but because of how we referenced it with a fiveplex separate, it had to be 6 or more.
Okay.
So this is definition coming out of the state of Washington.
Yes, state of Washington with the decision for Millwood on the 6 or more, because we used fiveplex for
Include
5.
5 or 6.
So there is flexibility in there, but this matches with what we had in the comp plan. Yep. And they specifically called out a fiveplex as being part of the middle housing, that's why we, called it out. Yep,
Thank you.
no problem. Any other questions?
I don't have any. Bill?
No question. Jay? No, I like all the definitions, good job, Amanda.
Thanks. And if we are done, I'll go ahead and pull this, but there may be updates on the review tracker, because if I run across something in Title 7 or Title 14, for example, or whatever, that I need to update, I'll let you guys know.
Bobby, you okay?
Yeah, I think that we talked about the definitions a lot.
Yep.
As we came across words we didn't have a definition for, so.
And that's, we've got all our periodic update requirements in there. So say in the fall, when we're doing our next round of things that aren't part of the periodic update, if we realize we're missing a definition, it's easy to write an ordinance to include it.
I did have one on page 96, walking distance.
Yes.
Um, All lots which touch the path/route are considered walking distance. I'm not sure what that means.
I might have taken that.
It doesn't, it's like,
Okay.
doesn't quite finish the thought, or there's something
Based on
missing
the
or something.
local street network and other pedestrian routes such as off-street trails, all lots which touch the path route are considered walking distance. Oh, I think this, don't quote me, I think this one came from the state, and the example is, along Dalton, where we have sidewalks. If you are the end house and it used to be a half mile was a walking distance. For parks and stuff, I still use that. But say you are 0.6 miles at the end house, but you have a sidewalk that brings you right straight to your downtown, it's considered walking distance under this definition.
So I see we have a definition for usable marijuana. Is there a definition for unusable marijuana?
That one was existing. I literally did not have to touch anything on the marijuana.
Or is-
Yeah, I wondered about that one too. It's a
is
little,
that-
somewhere
or is
state
that under
level.
seats and
I would
stuff?
say it would be the opposite of what they say in the RCW.
Okay, I won't go there.
Yeah, and then, so it's there, and then all you get is as defined in the RCW.
Yeah.
Okay, so, are we good, so is this appendix A, or so are we good with appendix A? She can pull it?
Well,
Okay.
appendix A, I think we, hang on to just basically because it's the kind of thing.
I can pull it from the agenda for continued
Yeah.
review.
Right, that's is where I was going.
Okay.
I mean, so, correct me if I'm wrong, once we're all done with this, everything
Mhm.
comes under a final review one more time, okay?
Yeah. We'll have it packaged up for the public workshop and then take it forward to the public hearing.
Okay, very cool. Alright. That, moving right along then, we are going to wireless communication facilities.
Okay.
17.
So a nod, I'm good to pull appendix A off the list. Okay.
Yep,
Alright. Okay. And wireless communication, this one's gonna be super, super easy. Corrected districts to zones, and the only reason it's really even in here was because of the modification we did for the type 1 facilities in C2, where we added the change into the C2 zone. I had to make it match here. So, everything else was just corrections to the names of the zones.
I'm good with that.
This is probably gonna be the easiest section we have.
Anybody have any comments?
Not on that one, Mike.
Cool.
Done. Woo! Yay, and construction. And he has an hour, yay. Okay, so I was sweating bullets a little bit because I hadn't heard back from her, but I sat down with Jenny Nickerson, the building official with City of Spokane Valley. And for your reference, Karina, we have an interlocal with City of Spokane Valley. Officially, I'm the building official for Millwood, but I work hand in hand with Jenny and they do all of our building permits and stuff. Yeah. And so I figured, well, we need to sit down, make sure everything's updated correctly. So we did that. We met on the subdivision side as well with all the new changes. I sent a draft over to Jenny just to double check and make sure I had all the code references updated correctly and got a thumbs up just a couple days ago. So, it has been reviewed, by myself. I believe I sent this one, I think, to Brian as well. Yes, I did. I sent this one to Brian as well. It's all good. And so this has been updated, to reflect the current codes. 'Cause
Brian is our city
Oh,
attorney.
apologies, yes.
Brian
Thank you.
Hurst.
Thank you.
So updated to reflect all of the current codes. Also, updated to make clarifications on, how, certain things in the valley were being done versus us, so we clarified it in here. And,
I have one quick question on the very first,
oh, sure,
first page, Amanda.
yes,
It said paragraph A, you scratched out, it said state of Washington and/or Spokane County, but Spokane was crossed out.
oh, because we used to contract, it's both crossed out, Spokane County is. We used to have an interlocal with Spokane County, we now have an interlocal with City of Spokane Valley. It is my recommendation to stay with City of Spokane Valley. I think it is a whole lot better process and we work very well together. And do you actually get your inspections completed? I will get off my
Okay, I was
soapbox.
just curious
Change
why
their
we,
contract.
Yeah, change the
Yeah.
contract,
why we
yes,
crossed out Spokane County, yeah, that's why.
that's why. Yeah.
Okay.
The City of Spokane Valley is doing a fantastic job with the
Okay.
interlocal. And then, let's see. Yeah, that's all just the same clarifications. I clarified what building official means, because even though it was hinted all throughout the Millwood Municipal Code that it was me, it wasn't specifically stated very clearly. So I corrected that in here, but I also said I could defer to coordinate with Jenny, so, because I am not a building inspector. And then also updated, if we had an issue, on, and this a little further down, I can't remember what it is, but I remembered. If we have an issue on appeal, so we do not use a Board of Adjustment, neither does City of Spokane Valley. And so if there's an issue on the appeal, we use our appeal process unless, and this is what I was needing to know, because ours goes to council, theirs goes to hearing examiner. So if they make the decision on a building permit, it would go through their hearing examiner process. If I make the decision on a project permit, it goes through our appeal process. So, and that was something she had requested to have clarified in there, so that we made sure we knew which appeal process to utilize.
Is that 1504070?
Do, 1504. What page?
Page 11.
Page 11. Why, yes, it is. That's all the same, that's just expiration of permits and stuff, current language.
So I've got a question on
Okay.
page 2, if we.
Actually, I wasn't done with that one.
Okay,
Oh, okay,
So if there's an action based on the Millwood Municipal Code, and they appeal it, and Spokane County, or rather, City of Spokane Valley denies the appeal, and it's through the hearing examiner,
yes, because that's who they have in their code.
and we're confident that their hearing examiner is familiar with our municipal code to apply to.
Well,
that.
that's the reason why I wrote this in here. The hearing examiner would not need to be familiar with our municipal code, they need to be familiar with Spokane Valley's code for how the, building, that's why we're consistent with the valley, is because they have to enforce what the building officials or the building, plans examiner's determination was. So, if it's, let me use an example, a simple one. Single family home, I have nothing to do with. If, other than possibly a site plan review, that would be it. A full commercial permit, like the mixed use building over here, I'm the project coordinator on it. And so if they are appealing a decision I make, it would go through our process. If they are appealing why, Jenny's requiring a 5/8 firewall, yada, 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 it would go through their process.
so if it's like a single-family home, our code has setbacks and.
If it's anything to do with the site plan review and that, it would be me. If it's anything to do with the building code side of it, the construction, it would be that one.
So, just all the building code.
It's building,
Kinds
it's
of
all about the
things.
building code, all this, the mechanical, the plumbing, all those things is
How
what,
deep the foundation has to be dug,
Yeah.
all of the specifics for that goes. So you
Fire
could
blocking.
easily have a project with several appeals. And some of them would come to Millwood and some of them would go to the,
and it is
Hearing examiner.
possible, because, the construction side is not part, how do I word this? They could appeal the construction to them, but at the same time also appealing my determination on a site plan review.
yeah.
It is possible, yeah. And if that's the case, I would pull Brian in right away and we'd sit down and make sure we got this correct. Very, in fact, I'm trying to think if it ever happened. In my 17 years with Liberty Lake, running planning and building services, I don't think we ever had an appeal at the building code side. And I only had a couple on the zoning side. We had to look it up one time on the building side and we were able to sit down, and talk through it with the applicant and our, plans examiner and figure out where the grade was. So very, very rarely, and Mike could probably speak to this, very rarely do you have a building code appeal. Okay.
So, page 2.
Oh, it's,
Well, just a second, Bob.
Mhm.
So, Bill had the floor,
Mhm.
page 11.
I'm satisfied.
Go ahead.
Okay, page 2, other codes and standards.
Mhm.
Number D. Washington State Historic Building Code.
as amended.
Yes.
It's fire safety and stuff in there.
It's been repealed some time ago.
It was.
It does not exist.
WAC 5119?
Yes. Has been repealed according to the,
Really?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
It's been a while, cause last time I went looking for it to reference something, it's like, it's gone.
Okay.
But what they have done, apparently, and I can give you this thing that I got off of the DHSH or whatever it is, website. There is something, and I didn't get time to find out if we have referenced the Washington State existing buildings and structures.
I believe we do have reference to that. 15.
IEBC, existing buildings and, I don't know.
6D was repealed?
Yeah,
Okay.
Okay, timeout. I've got it pulled up right now. I don't see anything that says it's been revealed.
That's what I swore I double checked these before I sent them to Jenny.
go
Says,
to,
so I'm on the Washington State Historic Building Code.
And it's RCW, or WAC
WAC Chapter
5119.
51-19 is the Washington State Historic Building Code, which provides alternative building regulations for preserving, rehabilitating, relocating, or reconstructing designated historic buildings. It aims to facilitate the repair and use of historic structures while ensuring safety, allowing for reasonable alternatives to standard building codes when necessary.
yes, and it was a wonderful law.
And scroll all the way down and make sure to, well, no, if it was repealed, it would say it at the top.
Go to DHSH. What is it, Department of Historic,
Preservation,
DHA, yeah,
DAHP.
DAHP, go to DAHP.
Okay, just a second.
If it was repealed, it should reference that in the WAC. I will,
Why would
I
they
will
lie to
double
us?
check, yeah, I'll double
Double
check and I
check,
put a question mark. If it truly was repealed, I will, cross it out and then renumber up.
And, chapter 12 of the IEBC is on historic buildings and basically replaces what was in
So,
that.
Chapter 12 of IEBC replaces,
Put a big question mark at the end and
yeah,
look into it.
and that's International Existing Building Code, right?
Yes, I believe so. Or, yes, and there's a Washington State existing building code or something or other.
Okay. All right, I will look into that.
Yeah.
Okay?
Anything else?
And that's one I could see getting appeals on building.
Yeah, I can see that.
So is that something that,
If they are enforcing that code and it has nothing to do with the zoning, site plan review, anything, that would go to Jenny.
do they have that referenced in their codes?
I believe they do because I matched it.
So it might be good to double check.
Yeah, and if it was repealed, I'll let her know.
Cause they're very low on historic buildings.
Do you know
and we're
when,
very-
or do you have a reminder of when it was, you thought it was repealed?
No, I went and looked probably about 2-3 years ago.
Oh, it
and
has been
was
that
already gone then.
Well, so used to be every 3 years, you have an update to the building code. I just heard the 2024 code will probably come into play about mid-2027, and so I'll update these again. I know we have as amended, but I like to try and keep them updated. And so that's why I was wondering if it was part of this cycle and it just got jumped ahead or something, but I will research that.
Yeah, yes, it'd be good to get some clarification.
Okay.
Probably could even reach out to, Department of Archaeology and Historic Preservation. Cause that's big for us.
Yeah. Okay. Next.
Page 3,
Yes.
under amendments for administration and enforcement, 15.04.020, letter A. I was just wondering then, for my understanding, the city of Millwood shall be the, and in quotation, name of jurisdiction.
So when it's referencing, in all the codes that we adopted, when it says name and jurisdiction.
Okay, understood, thank you.
Okay, so when we're yeah, I was a little confused about this whole section. So basically, we folded in all of these other codes, but we've gone in and changed the wording of the codes in specific places. Is that what we're doing here?
Yes, but it's not necessarily just Millwood, it's, state of Washington. So the state of Washington goes through and adopts codes, and then they adopt amendments to codes. And that's what you're seeing here is what, has been adopted. And we talked about, remember the 200 square feet and all that?
Yep.
That's referenced in here. And, clarified, I added, so yes, that's an amended section, but for Millwood, and I believe the Valley did as well, we clarified and added that it, can't exceed 200 square feet without a permit and also cannot be occupied as a living space dwelling unit, since that's been ran into in the Valley. And we also clarified where site plan review after we met, where site plan review is required.
Right, right. No, I was just trying to get a picture of what was going on here. We reference these things and then we go in and say, except when they say this, what we mean is.
Yeah, you should try reading the building code sometimes.
I've read the electrical code pretty thoroughly, so I can imagine.
I have a question on page 5,
Okay.
International Mechanical Code and the International Fuel Gas Code,
Reserved,
reserve.
yeah.
That has all been scratched, that's all been deleted.
It was not the current information.
Okay. But I don't think I saw,
A replacement?
a replacement.
It was adopted, so there's just no amendments, proposed to it. Where is it? Uniform plumbing. This is where my fine tool helps. Building code, residential code, right here, page 1, A3.
Page 1, A3,
That's where it's adopted, and there
Oh.
hasn't been any amendments to it.
okay. I do see that, I even had that highlighted, so
Yeah.
I've missed that, all right, thank you.
Well, and these changes are changes that come from the state for the most part.
Yeah, the 1504-020 is some of it's ours and some is carried over. But a lot of the little ticky-tacky things about the 121 to 200 stuff, that's Millwood. And / Spokane Valley.
So just out of curiosity, where is the electrical code?
Electrical code is page 2. Energy conservation,
plumbing.
fire code. Oh, where is it?
Saw it referenced
I know, I saw, it's in
kind
here.
of somewhere later, but but
Yeah.
it's not in the main ones. that we do.
And the reason it's not in the main is because it's not a building code, it's enforced by L&I.
Yeah, it's forced by the state rather than.
It's in here, I just can't remember where it is.
Okay, and then I've got next page, page 6, talking about blighted property. It says the property, dwelling, building, or structure is determined by the mayor or the designee. But on the next page, it talks about prior to such condemnation, the city council shall adopt a resolution declaring that the acquisition, well, that's the acquisition, but, so one,
So this is unsafe structures on the top of page 7. This other one is just general definitions of the property maintenance code.
okay, so the mayor can make that decision then,
Yeah,
okay.
There is an appeal process.
and specifically for ours, so it's cross-referenced. It was recently updated by council, and which section is it? Dangerous or unfit dwellings, buildings, or structures. It's chapter 1516, dangerous buildings. So this is the state language in the valley, and then it's further refined for Millwood under chapter 1516.
Okay, then on page 8, that whole table,
Yes.
explain that to me.
Yes, so depending on where you are in the state, you have different things, for like roof snow load, that's the biggest one.
Right,
Obviously, if you're in the middle of the desert area, your roof snow load is gonna be a whole lot less than if you're in Colville.
right,
And so these are the roof snow loads and, design requirements for this area right here.
so when it says winter design temperature, 10 degrees, what does that mean? 10 degrees Fahrenheit?
Your heat system is designed to be able to bring it up to the required temperature, starting at 10 degrees outside,
Okay,
I think is how it's usually.
Yeah, and this is based on the Washington State Energy Code. I am not a Washington State Energy Code expert by any means, and it's been revised so many times. I can tell you it's one of the most stringent in the Northwest, or is the most stringent. But these are the design criteria that accompanies that code.
okay, so then you get down to the last box, it says winter heating, it's 7 degrees.
Yes, it is.
So I mean, and if this is Washington State,
Well, this is this
Yeah.
area, so this
Okay.
matches Spokane Valley, and it should match Spokane, it's this area.
okay, it's just that those numbers are, one says 10 degrees and the other one says 7 degrees,
Yeah.
and then, yeah,
And I will tell you, I liked the Valley's way they did the table better, but we were not set up that way, and I didn't wanna reset our whole table. So I just incorporated the info in.
Okay.
I thought theirs was a little more readable, but.
Yeah, the design temperature is a very specific thing. If you read heating manuals and stuff, they talk about the design temperature.
Okay.
And it's what you're designing a heating system to, usually,
Okay.
or as I understood it.
Okay. And I don't
Maybe
know
that's
that,
changed,
so.
and I don't know what.
Well, if we could expect it to never get below 10 degrees, I'd be happy.
No kidding. This is, yeah, the
We
real
all-
question is 10 degrees really a reasonable number?
Yeah,
And it was last year, but
yeah.
lots of years.
Oh,
Yeah, the only one I know about of this whole thing that I've had to use a lot was the snow loads. And one of the biggest
Sure.
differences, I don't know if they still are or not, but Liberty Lake was one of the first ones to drop it to a 30 pound per square foot snow load. The county was still at 40, and so we had a lot of angry contractors coming in and saying, well, wait a minute, we were doing it 40 out here, and they were 30. Now I think we're all 30, but they may still be 40, I'm not sure, but.
Huh. After all the years that roofs have caved in and stuff with,
Yeah.
with the high snow, they're
Yeah.
dropping it.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense, doesn't it?
You kind of think maybe people on the west side are coming up with these numbers.
Oh, flip flop. I'm sorry, I misrepresented that. Liberty Lake was a 40 pound per square foot, and the county was a 30. And so I think consistently, almost everybody was a 30. Liberty Lake went to a 40.
And that's currently what they're at?
I assume so. I haven't been there since 2018.
And what are we at?
A 30.
Roof.
And so is the Valley, and so is, I believe Spokane is. I didn't check all of them, but I know us in the Valley are for sure, because we match.
You actually have, Liberty Lake actually has a higher snow per year than we do because
Yes.
of the cascade shadow.
And that was
thing.
why
So-
it changed, yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And the other reason was, we didn't allow metal roofs.
So it didn't slide off, is that?
Mm-mm.
And you required insulation, so it didn't melt off.
So that's the only part I knew.
So yeah, I also question some of the numbers, but that's not up to us.
And on the next page, it's just more general questions for me about what is the cooling temperature difference of 14 degrees? What does that mean? And the wind velocity heating of 15 miles an hour, wind velocity cooling of 7.5.
It's all part of that energy code. I can tell you the plans examiner knows.
That'd be fun to find out, though.
Yeah, it would be interesting to know, I
Yeah,
guess, yeah.
exactly. I had not run into those. Steam heat doesn't talk a lot about that.
Okay.
And
What,
then,
what I can tell you about the new energy code, I mean, it's really, become a big deal in the building permit process. I mean, a huge deal. I mean, just even permitting single-family residences, I mean, it's some of the things they make you go through to adhere to that for your insulation and stuff like that. It's pretty
Okay.
brutal.
And these are the numbers you plug in to do
Yeah.
that?
Exactly.
Okay.
Okay.
And they have a formula, and you've gotta meet X, Y, Z. And as long as you do this, this, and this, and the numbers add up, then you get a permit. I just went through it.
I don't think I'd rather try and get a building permit anymore.
and then, page 9, I'll just touch on that I updated the application, for permit to do work and correctly referenced, our code sections and et cetera, so that's all been updated.
I had some questions on that, just understanding it, not.
Okay,
What do we mean by code cycle? We keep
Oh,
talking.
that's every 3 years, the building code's updated. And so I'm assuming this is about the vesting part. So somebody comes in today, because usually it's July, I don't know what it'll be, but somebody comes in today and makes application for a building permit for a single family home. Well, most likely that home's not gonna be completed for about 6 months. Meanwhile, let's say in July, the building codes change. We don't go back and say, oh, I'm sorry, you have to update all your stuff. No, it's vested at the time of the, complete application. And that's standard across the board. It's same with our zoning
So
side.
what do we mean by, but not to exceed the time remaining in the code cycle?
So applications are valid for 1 year. Is this the part, the applications are valid for 1 year? One or more extensions of time may be granted for a term of not more than 180 days, so the 6 months, but shall not exceed the time remaining in the code cycle to which the application is vested. So if it is, well, this would actually be a good one. So it's 2026 right now. We're anticipating 2027, so probably July, will be the 2024 update. So if you get a building permit and you need to get another extension on it for 6 months, so let's say it's issued today, it's good for a year, okay? And then that would be April 29th of 2027. And that we know that the building code's gonna be updated July 1st of 2027. You wouldn't be able to get a full extra 6-month extension on it. It would go up to the July 1st. Is the way I word it, once you get to the extension side.
Makes sense. It does.
So you don't get the full amount of time depending on where they are in updating
On
their
an
paperwork.
extension of it, yes.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay, this is something I've got quite a bit of experience in, so we do rehabs, okay? But you gotta remember, I'm a training program, so every 6 weeks I get a new class. So our rehabs take forever, okay? I mean, literally, I've been working
Sure,
on them for several years, okay? You get 1 year on your building permit, okay? Then we get another extension for another 6 months. Then we get another extension for another 6 months, okay? So then, if we get them to bump up against the code cycle, then they don't grant that other extension. They wanna go through a whole review process again, which it's really pretty simple. I mean, for us, it's really simple. For Habitat for Humanity, it's real simple because they know what we do, they know what we're all about. But I can see for maybe people that they're not familiar with, they're gonna at least wanna review their whole permit process again to make sure that what's going on here.
Mhm.
So, making sure they're staying up to snuff. And if there's been any major building code changes, you know, that type of
Mhm.
thing. So,
And then from then on, when you get that new review process and the
Right.
new permit, now you have to get it to the standards that are in effect at the time you get the new
Right.
permit.
it's, what it does is, it stops people, from getting a building permit and taking 15 years to build their house.
Yes.
Yeah, sometimes that happens.
Sometimes that happens because of how they do it, but you know, they just, well, we're just getting extensions, That's not what it's.
Yeah, I had that highlighted on the next page, is, paragraph 2, commenced within 2 years of issuance. What constitutes commenced?
Starting construction.
Digging a hole, digging a foundation?
That's starting construction.
Yep.
Okay,
Any activity under the permit.
all right.
So you've got the application and how long the application is valid for. And then we talk about the permit and how long the permit is good for. So applications and permits are timed separately from each other?
Yeah, so if you have the, you obviously make application. Which section are you on, Bobby?
Well, just the whole thing, because A talks about the application, but then we get over to number 2, we talk about permits. So I was having a little trouble separating the application from the permit.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry. Let me try this again. So, I'm actually gonna use Conrad's building, okay, cause that one's going on quite a while. So he made application. It wasn't a project permit, so we didn't have to go through all that. So it was real simple on the, we all reviewed it. There were some changes. Sent him back. He worked on the changes. Then, it brought it back to us. Okay, we reviewed it again. At the time, he said, hold on, I need to look at something. Remember the 3 versus 4 units and stuff. So he put a hold on the application. Well, now, we're still within this whole period, you know, and everything. And luckily, we haven't had any code changes. And so now it's been resurrected and is proceeding forward at a rapid pace. But that's the difference of the application timeline. And then once a building permit is issued, that's the thing.
That's
So I
A new and
misspoke,
different
yeah, a
timer.
little bit. Yeah, in the application timeframe is why you
Okay.
reflect it to the code
Right,
cycle,
right.
yeah.
Okay,
Once that building permit is issued, that is, you are issued. And then if you let that building permit expire, then you're in trouble.
That's a way better explanation.
Yeah, I apologize.
yeah.
Yeah, it's all about this vesting provisions,
Mhm.
and that can be a big deal.
Oh, yeah, yeah, totally. You have it all designed and started with certain set of rules and they change the rules.
And then, of course, at the very bottom is our new section, refer to chapter 1412, specifically 1412.025, to determine if you require project permit processing. Okay, we already went over the appeals. The penalty was just current state law stuff. Dangerous buildings was what the city council already updated.
Are all dangerous buildings, are those basically Washington State required codes then?
There is the International Property Maintenance Code, and that has some in it. And then Millwood has their own specific additional standards for dangerous buildings.
I think Millwood ran into some specific instances where they needed to be able to do certain action, but they had nothing in the codes that allowed them to.
Yeah.
Or what they had in the codes didn't translate to anything that had enough teeth to really encourage people to make the changes.
Okay.
So they went into this whole process with the lawyer of coming up with things that would have solved the problems that we had on an ongoing basis. So this was a big deal that was considered and gone through all the processing and stuff.
And I really didn't touch it much, because like I said, if you look on page 14 of 18, right above section 15-16-050, it says 11-24-25. So there's various sections of this council just updated.
Okay.
This is one of the ones that normally wouldn't come through planning commission, like it didn't on the last update, but because it's part of the periodic update, I wanted to bring everything forward.
Now, these lines at the side, it's not in red, but there's lines.
Oh, okay.
Did you
So-
put those in there, or those were in
Yeah.
there?
I highlight to know where I left off. And I've noticed on some of them, even though I unhighlight it, it was still showing it changed. I caught it on Title 16, I've been trying to correct it.
Yeah.
I didn't catch it on this
Okay.
one. So nothing changed there, it was just from me highlighting, so I knew where I left off.
So the red is the change, and we don't have to worry about the black. Okay,
On page 16, under 15.16.070, building official, and the first sentence, if after preliminary investigation of any dwelling, building, or structure, the building official find that it is dangerous or unfit for human habitation or other use, he shall cause to be served, and
Oh,
it
instead of
continues.
he, she. in
Yes,
there.
I just
Yes.
wanted it to be consistent with page 315.04.
Okay, and I did not, like I said, I didn't review this, but oh man, I got a lot of those in Title 16. Do you guys want me to
Fix
update
it.
that? Okay.
Absolutely.
Were there any others like that you saw?
I don't believe so.
How are you doing it, E/C or?
Okay,
E
so
or-
here's how I did it in Title 16. There. It was way easier because I did not want to offend anybody. It used to be his/her, but now you have to do his/her or their, and I'm like, it's way easier just to say there.
Yep.
Or
So,
they, or whatever the.
yes,
fits. Okay, yeah, good.
so,
That makes sense.
so in this case, it'll be they.
Yeah.
Shall enter, or even easier, sometimes I say the building official, so.
So we actually have the building official conducting a hearing. That's interesting. I had not run into that before. Under the next one,
15.
building official hearing evidence order. The hearing shall be conducted by the building official at the time and place.
Oh, this, I didn't change this at all, and I didn't include, it didn't have to be
So are you
included in our
prepared
project
to
permits.
conduct a hearing?
Oh, I can. Doesn't scare me. I would talk with the mayor, obviously, and ask, do you want me or do you want me to defer to Jenny?
Yeah.
So Title 15. 16. I will do a quick search. I didn't check Title 15, so check all of Title 15 for that. Okay. All right.
Quick question on page 23,
Yes.
development permit and fee required. It says a fee and then been scratched out.
Oh, I took out
$50.
all the fee references because they're so outdated. You don't want any fee references in your municipal code. You want to always refer to your fee schedule.
Okay, that makes sense. Okay.
We move into flood hazard areas, right, from,
Flood hazards, the next section.
yeah.
And I didn't update anything other than adding, where I needed to. So like in Title 16, everything was city planning director. I just used planning director. Some other places had city planner and planning director. If they did, I tried to be consistent, where city planning director / city planner. So it was interchangeable, but throughout the entire code, the two were interchangeable. I just tried to make it consistent based on the title.
And just a little thing, on page 27, you have crossed out 1, went to A, crossed out 2, went to B, crossed out 3, went to C. D is not crossed out, that's not a big deal. It just says D4.
No, 4 is actually crossed out, you just can't tell.
The crossed out line is where the crossed
Yeah.
line and the 4 is.
Yeah,
Oh,
if you look
okay.
really, really close, you can see it's almost like a double line.
Magnifying glass.
You're just
might be-
messing with me, aren't you?
All of us that are at that level.
Well, and I actually, was super careful on a lot of these. I either made sure to put it in front or behind, so that we were consistent on those. Some are in front in some titles, some are behind in others, but I didn't hop back and forth.
Okay.
So while we're there on page 27, floodways. Down, I guess the new ones are B2B.
B2B, okay.
If the structure has been damaged and is being restored, comma, before the damage occurred. It's not really.
So I think you have to go back up to the front. So repairs, reconstruction, or improvements to a structure, the cost of which does not exceed 50% of the market value of the structure, either before the repair, or if it's damaged or restored, if the structure has been damaged and is being restored, it's before the damage occurred. So it has to go together. I don't like the wording, but I don't know it.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah.
So do we have it keeps referring to floodplain in the 100-year flood.
It's is it in, I think it's a combination of this section and Title 18 has the floodplain regulations.
So do we have a map in anything that tells us?
We do, in the comprehensive plan, basically the only flood potential is right on the river. That's it.
Well, of
Everything
course,
else is zone AE, I believe that's the term. But every time, just to be safe, because we go with the most current FEMA maps, so, I go through and double check what the current FEMA designation is.
I remember we had that conversation, and Millwood doesn't have a lot of flood zones.
No.
You know,
And
when-
it's
when
gonna
you-
be, well, you guys already saw critical areas. There were so many things in there I had to include in because the state asked me to, and I'm like, we have no flood zones. Well, it doesn't mean it couldn't occur, and I'm like,
Well,
Well, yeah, if you fill up city of Spokane and come up to the top of the dam, then maybe.
yeah.
so, yeah.
A lot of people in a lot of trouble if we end up flooding.
Yes.
Yeah.
Anything else on that? We're at the end.
There was, go ahead.
Bob.
No, go ahead, because I'm
Thank you.
still.
Page 24, section 15.20.060 for appeal and variance procedures, and I see that, the original, the city council shall hear and decide appeals, and that was crossed in our.
Because we're referencing everything for administrative appeals to that section.
Okay,
And then that section, currently will be, the city council, because that's what our hybrid is. And in the future, if we ever need to, then we can just change it to hearing examiner right there.
okay, yep.
You'll see a ton of that when you get 16, Title 16.
Anything else? So we can set this one aside?
There's one, I can't find it, that mentioned critical areas.
It would be under the floodway,
just
and it
a-
would have been a cross-reference to it.
I know. Might have been in something else. But does our, how do we refer to our recharge zone? Is that a critical
Oh, that's
areas?
critical area, critical aquifer recharge zone, which is the
Yeah.
entire, it's all of us. It's the entire Liberty Lake, it's the entire Millwood, it's the, I think the entire Spokane Valley are real close, maybe not the very southern part. We're all under the care of.
Right, but,
Yeah.
so, and.
And on the map in the comp plan, there's a little asterisk, that says the entire city of Millwood is within a critical aquifer recharge area.
Right, somewhere I found it where it referenced, but you can't do this in. And it seemed to me, well, if the entire city is a critical areas, maybe that needed to be, I'll come across it later, just,
Okay,
So it'll
it
drive you
was like,
crazy
it
to
kind
take-
of was a little overbroad, I mean, or, it was not meant to be the entire town
yeah,
when it said critical areas. But if
and it was in
entire
Title
town
15.
is- I don't know, it was something I read today.
Oh.
So it's somewhere in this packet,
Okay.
I'll find it. Yeah,
So otherwise, I'll pull it, and then we can just, come back to it if we need to.
yeah, I marked it, but I apparently didn't put a little tab on it.
We can do a quick, do you wanna finalize it? We can do a quick word search.
So if you wanna do a quick word
Okay.
search? real
Can you
quick.
do search aquifer?
Well, no, this was critical areas.
Oh, so it didn't
aquifer.
say aquifer, okay.
No, that was one.
Critical areas, so
Is it
critical.
didn't look like it meant the aquifer, it looked like it meant something else.
Yeah, fine. I would spell it all the way out because it will keep coming back. Page 26, no, that's critical facilities. So, let's see, hit the up arrow over there, right there, and hit it again. Okay, so what's number 1? Critical facility, okay, hit the down arrow. Next, critical facility, keep going. Facility, keep going. So, hit the down arrow 2 more times. Yeah, it's all critical facility is what's coming up.
We'll do a Bobby search and find it.
Mark it, I don't think I put a tab on it. It's just reading through in a hurry, and it just,
It would have to be in the floodplain section.
Yeah, cause it was like it maybe meant to refer to just the floodplain, but because it said critical areas, it would refer to the entire city.
Maybe the two of you can get together. by
Yeah.
email.
I'll have to
Yeah.
find it and, get to send a note to Amanda and
Okay.
see if it was.
So anything else on the construction, Title 15? Good work, everybody. Good work. That brings us to public remarks. Anybody in the audience wanna say anything? Go ahead, Mr. Beasy, come on up.
Todd Easy, 8610 East South Riverway, Millwood. And thank you all for all your hard work on this here, and especially Amanda and stuff. It's a big job, big job. On a little bit different, some things that are going on in Millwood. Millwood Impact, 6 o'clock dinner tomorrow night, and they'll be serving Longhorn Barbecue. And there's a pub crawl set for Saturday, which benefits Wes's Wade's Foundation. And that foundation supplies extracurricular activities for children and stuff. And then I went to the Spokane Transit presentation on the Argonne Station. And so it'll be interesting to see what is going to be there. You already have one. There you go. You have one.
How'd you get one already?
And this is their site plan. So. Okay. Okay, thank you very much for all your hard work. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Mr. Beasy. Anybody else?
And I'm on, just so you know, I haven't been attending because of all this, but I am on the group for this, representing Melbourne.
And as I mentioned before, I sit on the Regional Transportation Commission. Perfect, okay, that takes us to our city planner report. Amanda.
All right, so, it has been a periodic update heavy month, for March. Very little projects, it was just a fence permit I had to come through. The mixed use building version 3 approval. And, we are in the very final stages of that, it was just finalizing, water approval, and we're real close on
We're
that.
at 4 stories now?
Three, still
Three?
3.
Oh, good.
And went back to the 4 residential units. So it is a single restaurant on the ground floor instead of 2. The whole second floor is actually gonna be Kodiak's office, new office. That's how they made it pencil out. And then the top story is, 4 residential units.
Where's this at?
The now vacant lot was the old post office
Post
lot.
office building.
Yeah,
Okay.
across from the church.
Yep, got it.
Next door to where Kodiak is.
Yeah.
And then they hang on to their current building and rent it out because that's the only way they get their parking, right?
Yeah, they have to maintain or have an agreement between the 2 buildings, one of the 2. Current code doesn't require an agreement, but they are the property owner of both. New code update, I required an
They
agreement.
will.
Yeah, and so, yes, that's the other parking is over at that, and there's a sidewalk connection in the back going over.
How large is the footprint for that if you're gonna have 4 residential units on
I
the
know.
top floor?
Yeah, I don't recall. They had bedrooms to them. I
Really?
think they were a mixture. They weren't just studio, no. I studied the first version real close. I didn't study the second one as close.
Okay.
But yeah, they were at least a bedroom, I believe. Then there were a couple, so I think 2 were 1 bedroom, maybe even 2, and the other ones were more studio or an open concept kind of thing.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
I'd have to go back and look for
Yeah.
sure, but
Those count towards our 104 we supposed to have?
it's coming. Yeah, yeah, 106.
That's the good
We
thing.
need 102.
Yeah, but we will see what they rent for on. So this, and actually I incorporated that building into our land capacity analysis because that's one of the examples that it's not low income. They are more market rate or a little higher. And so I could count them towards the units, but I couldn't count them towards the low income bracket, and so I had to reference that in there.
Even the studio, huh?
Yeah, we'll see. He's trying to keep them as affordable as possible, and that's why he made changes to the building. So the building's not entirely, remember how it was entirely brick? It's now brick, with a little bit of batten, because the entire brick it was so expensive. So he's trying to, he made just a few little changes and then, articulated the facade just a hair, so that he still had the change that we require. But it was all to save a little cost on the building in order to keep the option on those lower. Yep. And then, let's see, issued a shops addition site plan review. This was actually one I wanted to bring up as an example, because remember we talked in length and about the having the ability to have a larger shop versus the 1,200 square foot limit. This is one of those examples where he wanted, do you remember, was it 1,500? Do you remember, Ralph? Okay. I think it was 1,500 to 1,800, somewhere in that range. And I'm like, we can't, it's a 1,200 square foot limit. And I think he has car hobby. Oh, another thing, he has an RV he wanted to keep in the shop. And he said, is there a limit if I add it onto the house? And I said, no, it is not, because it's a house addition. So now he's got big house, because one whole side of it on a corner lot is a big shop addition. So it's just something else. I left it alone, as you guys wanted it, but it's another one of those examples to really think about with that 1,200 square foot limit on there, because it ends up where you have either big additions on a house to get around it, or you have two separate where you end up having more square footage of shop than if you just had one.
But we also have, if they put in a bathroom, and most places want to, and a kitchen and room, now they've got an ADU and they can go higher.
Yes, and that actually is,
And that gets us another unit.
I actually talked to the homeowner about that, but I said we don't have it in place yet, it's coming. And he thought about holding off so that he could go bigger, but, yeah. Yep. Then the periodic update,
Any questions for Amanda? Perfect. Good job.
Okay.
All right, that brings us to commissioner comments. Commissioner Carina. Commissioner Beasy.
Nope.
Commissioner Mull.
No additional comments or questions?
Commissioner Rick.
No comment.
No comment. Okay. What I'm gonna say is great job, everybody. We got through this. May have only taken us 3 or 4 meetings, but we did get through it.
Marching through.
So much appreciate everybody's flexibility on doing the extra meetings. So my question to Amanda is so according to our agenda, we do have a special meeting scheduled for May 13th.
Well, we're proposing.
Okay, we're proposing it, but we had talked about this, getting done what we got done tonight. Do we need to have that May 13th?
I would-
And let me preface this, okay? In our discussions, when we were talking about going to 2 meetings a month, we had some certain timeframes that we needed to meet that I know that are coming up, and I wanna make sure that me personally, okay, I would rather have the special meetings and get all the work done at the special meeting instead of not doing a special meeting and then being jammed at our regular meeting.
Yes.
Okay.
So that's why I proposed it,
Okay.
was so that I can bring subdivisions to you on May 13th, and that's the only one on there.
Okay.
And then at the regular meeting, May 27th, you get the last 2, the Title 14 and the Chapter 1744. And that way, we get through those and then anticipate not having one unless we need one in June to get through the second part of that.
Okay.
And then we have a public workshop at the end of June.
Okay, so, a great work by everybody, and Bridget, you're doing a great job keeping us all informed, and I really appreciate that. As always, think the public are coming to the meetings, we can't do what we do without your input. So do we need to make a motion to meet this special meeting? Okay, so, I'll entertain a motion to have a special meeting May 13th.
Second.
Okay, do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Okay, so, any discussion on the matter?
I
Okay,
won't be.
you won't be here? No excuse. Well, that Bill will be excused absent, we'll still have a quorum if all four of us show up, so. With that in mind, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Okay, perfect, okay, so that carries, and then we'll have our regular scheduled meeting May 27th. And where we're gonna do the periodic review. So if, nobody has anything else, I will entertain a motion for adjournment.
I'll make a motion to adjourn our meeting.
Second,
A second.
got a motion and a second, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Okay, ayes have it. Meeting adjourned.